Hi everyone! In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Atlas Society versus the Ayn Rand Institute. If you don't know what the Atlas Society and the Ayn Rand Institute are, they're basically two organizations that are trying to spread Ayn Rand's philosophy, except the way the Atlas Society is doing it, it's a little bit problematic in my opinion. But now before we get into their approaches to teaching objectivism, I would like to give you a little bit more background on how they came to be. Basically, the Atlas Society was founded by David Kelley, and the Ayn Rand Institute was founded by Leonard Peikoff, who happens to be Ayn Rand's intellectual heir. And actually, David Kelley and Leonard Peikoff, they both knew Ayn Rand personally while she was still alive. So after Ayn Rand died, Leonard Peikoff founded the Ayn Rand Institute, and a few years later, David Kelley decided to found the Atlas Society because he disagreed with the way the Ayn Rand Institute was teaching objectivism. So basically, the real core of the issue is that the Atlas Society regards objectivism as an open system, and the Ayn Rand Institute regards objectivism as a closed system philosophy. Alright, so before we explore this issue of the closed system versus open system further, I want to talk a little bit about what each organization is doing. The Ayn Rand Institute, it's known for producing a lot of long-form intellectual content, and the Atlas Society, on the other hand, they're focused more on short content, more modern marketing, and they actually have a lot of cool looking things, like with a lot of good production content. I know that they have this like whiteboard series that looks really good, except I don't know, I haven't seen a lot of them, so I cannot really judge them on content, but they look pretty. So you know, they have a couple of things going for them. Alright, so now I'm going to read you the Atlas Society's mission statement. This is what's on their website. It says, "We promote open objectivism, the philosophy of reason, achievement, individualism, and freedom." And at the end of the page, it says, "At the Atlas Society, our scholars work to further develop this philosophy born in the mid-20th century." That's problematic. Further develop? You cannot do that. I mean, here's how I see it. Whoever comes up with a philosophy gets to say what the philosophy is, whether it's really good or really stupid. You're the inventor, you named it, that's your philosophy, nobody can come and change it. For example, if I said, and I tell you that the secret to a happy life is to wear a banana on your head, and I call that philosophy bananism, then that's what bananism is. Somebody cannot come and say, you know what, I really like bananism, but I think it's missing something. I think you cannot be happy until you also wear an orange on your head. And that's what bananism is about. You need to wear banana and orange. Like, no, that would be something totally different. You could come up with your own name for it and call it, I don't know, cocktail in the headism. But I mean, I know it's a really stupid example, but you know, that's how philosophies work. Whoever creates it gets to name it, and you cannot change it. You cannot change aspects of it. And what about the Ayn Rand Institute? What has the Ayn Rand Institute said on the subject of closed versus open system? Well, they actually have said a lot. Leonard Peikoff wrote this long essay called Fact and Value, in which he discusses the subject, and I'm gonna read you a little bit. This paragraph starts with a reference to David Kelley and something that he wrote about Ayn Rand's philosophy. It says, "Kelley states that Ayn Rand's philosophy, though magnificent, is not a closed system. Yes, it is. Philosophy, as Ayn Rand often observed, deals only with the kinds of issues available to men in any era. It does not change with the growth of human knowledge, since it is the base and precondition of that growth. Every philosophy, by the nature of the subject, is immutable. New implications, applications, integrations can always be discovered, but the essence of the system, its fundamental principles, and their consequences in every branch, is laid down once and for all by the philosophy's author. If this applies to any philosophy, think how much more obviously it applies to objectivism. Objectivism holds that every truth is an absolute, and that a proper philosophy is an integrated whole. Any change in any element of which would destroy the entire system. Objectivism is the name of Ayn Rand's achievement. Anyone else's interpretation or development of her ideas, my own work emphatically included, is precisely that, an interpretation or development which may or may not be logically consistent with what she wrote. In regard to the consistency of any such derivative work, each man must reach his own verdict by weighing all the relevant evidence. The official authorized doctrine, however, remains unchanged and untouched in Ayn Rand's books. It is not affected by any many interpreters. So why is it problematic that the Atlas Society is trying to sell objectivism as an open system? Well, the problem is that, let's say they write an article from the perspective of their version of objectivism and not Ayn Rand's version of objectivism. Somebody comes and reads the article and they don't really know Ayn Rand's philosophy, but they read this article and they see that it's coming from the Atlas Society, which is an objectivist organization. They're gonna think that what the article is saying it's true to Ayn Rand's philosophy. But what if the article is supporting something that Ayn Rand would never have stood for, and they're just standing up for it because, you know, that's how they view objectivism? That person reading the article is going to think that that's what Ayn Rand's philosophy is all about, even though it's incorrect. So that's why I think it's very negative for them to be labeling themselves as an objectivist organization. I think it's great that there are organizations spreading Ayn Rand's ideas, but if you're not going to respect what objectivism is in the way Ayn Rand developed it, then don't label yourself an objectivist organization. Say that you are spreading some of Ayn Rand's ideas and be very clear what parts of the philosophy you like and what parts of the philosophy you disagree with, so that, you know, it's a more honest approach, and people who engage with your content know beforehand that what they're reading is not from an objectivist perspective, but it might be inspired by some of Ayn Rand's ideas. Now, there is another thing about the Atlas Society that I find very problematic, but I'm gonna get to that in a little bit. Before that, I want to show you an example of one of the ways the Atlas Society interpretation of objectivism is problematic. And this is an article about Donald Trump that they have on their website. Now, here's the thing. Anybody can talk about Donald Trump in any way they want. If they love the guy and they agree with what he does, they're free to do so. And if they don't like him and they disagree with what he's doing, they should be able to talk about that. You know, any type of blogger or whomever, journalist. But if you are an objectivist organization and you choose to talk about Trump, you're gonna have to talk about him from an objectivist perspective. And by this I mean you're gonna have to judge his policies from an objectivist perspective. I mean, it's different than writing about him in your personal blog where there's no philosophy involved and maybe you're just focusing on economics or politics. But in an objectivist forum, you have to take philosophy into consideration, morality, ethics, when you're talking about his actions and politics or whatever. So why do I bring this up? Well, we know that Trump is a businessman, and there are some people that think that just because he's a businessman, he would be like an Ayn Rand hero, which is not accurate at all. Donald Trump is not an Ayn Rand hero. I'm not saying he's an Ayn Rand villain. I have not given it enough thought, but I'm sure that he's not an Ayn Rand hero. He's just some regular guy out there in the world. And the problem is that some of the Atlas Society's articles are feeding into that narrative that Trump is in some way someone that Ayn Rand would approve of. They don't say that explicitly, but it's kind of implied. For example, there was this article that I found called "Why Killers Are Losers and Losers Are Killers." And it is an article by Jennifer Grossman, the CEO of the Atlas Society, where she's praising Trump for some comments he made about mass shooters being losers. I mean, yeah, I agree, mass shooters, losers. But the way she talks about Donald Trump in this article, this is supposed to be an objectivist site. So if you're gonna comment on some positive things that Trump has said, you should have a disclaimer that you do not agree with everything Trump is doing and that he does not represent objectivism. And here she never mentions anything negative about Trump. In fact, she does something very bad. She implies that Donald Trump's favorite writer is Ayn Rand, and I did a search online and I didn't find him saying that anywhere. I did find that, and this I already knew, that one time he said he really enjoyed The Fountainhead, or that The Fountainhead was his favorite book, something like that. But that's very different than saying that Ayn Rand is his favorite writer. And here, let me read you from the article. It says, "Most of us wouldn't connect terrorism with losers, but Trump did, and so did someone else, his favorite writer, Ayn Rand." Why is she perpetrating this narrative that Donald Trump and Ayn Rand go hand to hand? They don't. And at the end of the article, there is another sentence that is trying to put Trump and Ayn Rand at an equal level or something. It says, "Rand wasn't afraid. great, and neither is President Trump. I'm not saying Donald Trump doesn't have any redeemable qualities, but he's just a guy and he has nothing to do with objectivism. And I think it's just destructive to objectivism to keep linking him to Ayn Rand, And why do I say this? Because there are a lot of things Trump stands for that are completely inconsistent with objectivism. So, you just have to be more honest when you're writing about Trump, especially if you want to talk about the positive things he's doing or that he said in an objectivist forum. Anyways, another thing that I found interesting is that when I was browsing their website, I also found another article that it's the opposite of that other article by Jennifer Grossman. This article, it's actually heavily criticizing Donald Trump, which is very interesting to me that they have mixed messages on their platform. They have some articles by Grossman like saying yeah Trump, and then some other articles by an anonymous poster because it doesn't have an author heavily criticizing Trump. This is called Donald Trump, a know-nothing of the 21st century, and this is basically calling him a know-nothing. This is an older article, so let me just read you a little bit of this. This is how the article ends. A President Trump would be a disaster. His instincts are dictatorial. He views the job as being a CEO of the country, but a CEO is like an emperor, not a constitutional executive in a system of separated powers. A President Trump could significantly increase state control over us, expanding the powers of the presidency and corrupting the rule of law, all for the sake of goals that will make most of us suffer greater poverty and insecurity. That is a recipe for destroying the American spirit, not making the country truly great. That I think that's also a problem that they have because they don't agree on what objectivism is. Some of them heavily criticize Trump and the other ones are like, yay Trump, because they don't understand objectivism basically. And that brings me to the other problem with the Atlas Society, and that is Jennifer Grossman, their CEO. Oh boy, let's see. I'm gonna start with a story. A few years ago, I knew about the Atlas Society and I knew about Jennifer Grossman. I knew that she was a CEO, but I didn't know much about her. And sometimes my friends would be like, oh my gosh, did you see what Grossman did? Did you see the video she posted? I was like, no, I didn't see. And I was like, but you guys, why are you guys criticizing her so much? She's just trying to spread objectivism and she likes Ayn Rand. Maybe she's just a little bit over the top, whatever. But I hadn't actually engaged with her content that much. So I was just, saying like, hey, she likes Ayn Rand, let her do whatever she wants. And then things changed a little bit because I went to a conference, one of those all conferences for women only, the Turning Point conference. And I was there and I had my name tag and it said Jennifer because Jennifer's my name. And I was standing next to the Ayn Rand Institute table. And she comes and she's like, oh, hi, I'm Jennifer too. Nice to meet you. And I was like, oh, hi. She made some comment, but she seemed nice. And then she walked away and I was like, my friends are kind of tough on her. She seems nice. And she was gonna do a talk that was supposed to be about Ayn Rand's ideas and that they help you improve your life or something like that. And so she gets on stage and I'm very interested to see what she's gonna say. And first of all, she started the talk saying, "Ooh, I hadn't seen so many beautiful women gathered together since Harvey Weinstein's trial." And the joke landed completely flat. Everybody was like no laughs. And she was like, "I'm moving on." And she went into her talk and it was a disaster. It had nothing to do with Ayn Rand, although she tried to throw Ayn Rand's name in it. And it was basically her just talking about dating. I guess because she was talking to a bunch of girls, she decided that would be a topic they'd be interested in. And I guess she was trying to find a way to link it to objectivism, but it was a big flop. And that was just like, oh my God, I can't believe she's up there representing an objectivist organization. These poor people are gonna think this is what Ayn Rand and what objectivism is about. That's why it's very destructive to be someone representing objectivism, but you don't really know objectivism well. And I don't know if you know this, but Jennifer Grossman loves dressing up as Ayn Rand. She will put on the black cape, the $sign, a black wig, and she puts on the fake Russian accent and goes on and does Q&As as Ayn Rand and goes and does lectures as Ayn Rand. And this is completely crazy because it would be a different thing if she was just a random person on the internet dressing up as Ayn Rand, if she's misinterpreting the philosophy, whatever. But right now she is acting as the face of an objectivist organization. People take her seriously. What she says, they take what she says seriously, which is very bad because a lot of the times when she's doing these Q&As, she's completely misrepresenting Ayn Rand's philosophy, or saying things that Ayn Rand would probably never say, you know? And well, the other day, a few weeks ago, my friend sent me a TikTok that Jennifer Grossman did recently, and she sent me the link and she said, "This woman is unwell." And I was like, I'm not gonna look at it. I don't want to cringe. I don't want to feel uncomfortable. I don't want to feel secondhand embarrassment. So I didn't watch it, but right now for the video, I am gonna watch it, and I'm just crossing my fingers that it's not really bad. So let me just pull it up. So like I said, I have not seen this, so this is gonna be my first time. Okay, so I see Jennifer Grossman dressed as Ayn Rand, and there's some person playing the piano on the other side of the TikTok. It's called Ayn Rand Freestyle. Before I watch this, let me prepare emotionally. I do not believe in God, but if there is a God, please help me get through this. Okay, it's trying to make me download TikTok, but I'm not. How can I play it? Here we go.
Life is not a lottery. It's not some random deal. I earn what I have. It's not yours to steal. People want big government, so it spills your dough. I am from Russia. Socialism, no. Free speech is a right in the US of A. Nothing that I say or think should make you feel some kind of way. Life is not a lottery. It's not some random deal. I earn what I have. It's not yours to steal. People want big government, so it spills your dough. I am from Russia. Socialism, no. Free speech is a right in the US of A. Nothing that I say or think should make you feel some kind of way.
Okay, no more. Stop. That was actually less bad than I expected, but wow. I mean, in terms of content, I don't think she said anything that was too bad, but I just think that if you are the face of an official organization, you should act more seriously, maybe. I don't know. So what about the Ayn Rand Institute? Are they perfect? No, they probably are not perfect, but at least they respect Ayn Rand's philosophy, and they're consistent in their message, and they know objectivism, and they know that it's a closed system. So in conclusion, I just think anybody that wants to promote Ayn Rand's ideas can do it, but unless you're going to take objectivism seriously and view it as the closed system that it is, then you should not brand yourself as an objectivist organization. And also, maybe Jennifer Grossman is to chill. If she wants to keep dressing up as Ayn Rand, I mean, that's fine, but I feel like she should stop doing Q&As as Ayn Rand, because you risk saying something or supporting something that Ayn Rand would never support or say, you know? Anyways, that was the video. I hope you enjoyed it. There will be another video next week, so stay tuned, and thank you for watching.